This episode of the DolphinsTalk.com podcast is sponsored by Caneswear. Caneswear.com is the spot where Miami fans shop. That's Caneswear.com. Caneswear.com, the best and most affordable gear for the Miami Dolphins, the Miami Marlins, the Miami Heat, the Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers, all of the professional and college sports teams in South Florida. Caneswear.com has you covered. If you're in South Florida, you can visit the storefront at 2655 South University Drive in Davie. They ship internationally as well. So Caneswear.com, make it the place. It's the best and most affordable Miami Dolphins gear. That's Caneswear.com, Caneswear.com. And don't forget about Dolphins Talk Extra. Go to patreon.com/Dolphins Talk for additional Miami Dolphins content. You get extra access to our private Discord server. You get bonus podcasts covering the Miami Dolphins. You get off-topic content as well. We have live watch-alongs. We have retro rewatches where we watch old games and talk about them. We do off-topic shows. We have prizes, contests, all kinds of exclusive access only for Dolphins Talk Extra subscribers. So join us, patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. You can join the fun for as little as $3 a month. Head on over to Dolphins Talk Extra at patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. And now, on with the show.
Hello, Dolphin fans, and welcome back to another episode of Dolphins Talk. My name is Marissa Marino, and today I am joined by Larra Overton, producer, host, and reporter for the Indianapolis Colts. You can be sure to follow her on all socials at Larra, that's Larra, Overton, on Twitter and Instagram. Larra, how are you today?
Marissa, I am great. Thanks so much for having me. Couldn't be more excited that the NFL is back and we are off and running into week one.
I am so ready, and I just have to give you a shout out. Everyone that listens on Dolphins Talk and has been following me for the past few seasons knows that besides fans, I have not had a female reporter on the show, and I am just so grateful for you. You are my very first, and so this is a very special moment for me in Dolphins Talk, so thank you so much for joining.
Well, I'm honored that you invited me on, honored to be the first and hopefully first of many, many more. And I'm very fortunate that we have a great group text of a lot of team reporters across the league, 25 plus or so. So any team reporter that you need that I can connect you with, you definitely let me know.
Oh, man, she might regret those words. No, I'm just kidding. Well, I really appreciate that. Well, getting into this game, cannot believe we are just a couple days away now.
Yeah.
So we know going into this, when we saw this on the schedule, that this is a big thing for the Colts organization, this game. They're going to be honoring the great late Jim Irsay, the longtime Colts owner who passed away a few months ago. So what's that going to be like? Is there going to be a big pregame ceremony to honor him or something at halftime? Are you guys expecting former Colts players to be in town for this? I mean, how big is this?
I am so glad you asked, and certainly this will be a special weekend for week one honoring Mr. Irsay, but the entire season will be. I've got my JI pin right here on my jacket.
Okay. Yeah.
This is just like you're going to see on the jerseys. The Colts jerseys all season long will feature that Jim Irsay patch alongside the jerseys. In terms of week one, halftime will be when Mr. Irsay is officially inducted into the Colts Ring of Honor. So players that will be back include Peyton Manning, Edgerrin James, Marvin Harrison, Dwight Freeney, tons of those Colts greats from the Super Bowl teams will be there. So that'll be an incredible gathering to officially induct Mr. Irsay into the Ring of Honor. So he will be up there, within Lucas Oil forever. So a lot of celebrations honoring his life, legacy, the impact that he had not only on the Colts, but on the community and on the NFL at large.
Yeah, and we are so, obviously it's an amazing that they're doing this tribute to them. As a Dolphins fan, of course, that they're playing for just more than a game, right? Like this is more than just any regular game for them.
You're exactly right. So the mantra of the season, there are kind of two. So the Colts slogan is for the shoe, for the horseshoe, for the shoe. That goes on almost everything. And then there's been a cadence that has followed that of for the and building into for the shoe. And for 2025, it's for the city, for the boss, for the shoe. So it's for the boss. That is what this entire 2025 season is dedicated to, is the legacy of Jim Irsay and honoring him. And then Shane Steichen has preached this since training camp has begun all throughout the preseason. It's win for Jim. That's the other tagline alongside everything. And we've heard it throughout the locker room, not just this week, but that has been really, ingrained in this team since back in May when Mr. Irsay passed and the team attended the celebration for him, the memorial service and all of that. So this has certainly been something that has that they've all really taken to heart. And certainly you're always playing for yourself, the name on the back of your jersey, the team that you're representing on the front of the jersey. And now you're also playing and wanting to have this season dedicated for him and do him proud. DeForest Buckner has talked a lot about this, about, hey, we know he's watching. We know that he is with us, and we owe it to him to make sure that we play this season and perform this season in a way that he would be proud of.
That absolutely makes sense. And it's a beautiful thing that you guys are honoring. So let me ask you this. What is the vibe in Indy right now heading into this season? I mean, I know Colts fans are excited. Everyone's excited. It's football season. But is there a lot of optimism or cautious optimism? What's the vibes out there?
I would say it's a lot of intrigue because people are very curious what this new Lou Anarumo defense looks like. We have so many on this Colts roster that have been longtime Colts. When you think about, on the offensive line, guys like Quentin Nelson and Braden Smith, Jonathan Taylor, of course, defensive side, I mentioned DeForest Buckner, you have Kenny Moore the second, you have Zaire Franklin. You have a number of these guys who have been part of this team for years and years. And truly the core of this group has predominantly remained the same. But now you have some very high focal points of this team that look different in 2025. On the defensive side of the ball, not only is it a new look Lou Anarumo defense for the team this season, there are also huge defensive additions. This was an investment by the Colts front office over the course of the offseason, both via free agency and the draft, to bring in more weapons within this defensive front. Because last year, Colts were near the bottom of the league in almost every defensive category. So they're looking to get much more production from that group. I mean, big investments with, a guy like Tarvarius Ward, an all-pro cornerback. Of course, the signing of safety Cam Bynum, bringing him in from the Minnesota Vikings. The Colts just recently signed Xavier Howard, a name very familiar.
We will be talking about that.
to Dolphins fans. And it's going to be interesting because Howard missed all of last season with the injury, but he and Lou Anarumo spent time together previously in their careers. There's tons of familiarity there as well. I want to mention too, something that's intriguing is we talked about those additions and, Ward and Bynum and Howard are kind of namely among those. But from the linebacker position, Joe Bacci played 4 years in Cincinnati with Lou Anarumo and was on those teams that went to back-to-back AFC championship teams. So that's a guy who has tons of experience, who has been an integral part of getting the rest of these guys up to speed and with what this defense looks like, because everyone across the board on that defensive side has told me it's a ton of detail. Lou preaches detail. He obviously likes to be very multiple in what he does defensively. So it's kept this group on their heels. Now they finally have the opportunity to see what this looks like, because everything, you keep things so close to the vest during the preseason, and the defensive starters played very minimal over the course of the preseason. And what a great test for this defense straight out of the gates, with having to go up against Miami with all of those offensive weapons that they have at their disposal. And then from the intrigue standpoint too, you got to talk, what does the offense look like with Daniel Jones? One of those other major new additions. He and Anthony Richardson had that competition for the starting quarterback role. Daniel Jones won out, and he's looking to, for a resurgence of his own career, coming out of New York and then playing the end of last season in Minnesota.
And that was going to be my next question. I mean, he won that starting quarterback job, and how has he
Yeah.
looked in training camp and preseason, in your opinion? And how do you think he's fit in with this Colts offense?
He has fit in incredibly well. It really seems like he, from the minute he stepped in, quickly earned the respect of everyone across that offense. Daniel is incredibly consistent day in and day out, and that is something that aligns very well with Shane Steichen, his approach, how he likes to run this offense. I had a conversation during the preseason with Daniel, and I asked him, obviously you wanted the opportunity to compete. That was one of the draws to Indianapolis, but you had options in the offseason. What else pulled you to Indianapolis? Why was it this opportunity that you felt like was the best fit? And he said that he really felt like that his skill set aligned and complemented very well the way that Shane Steichen operates this offense, how multiple he is in what he wants to do. And then having guys like Quentin Nelson on your offensive line, a weapon like Jonathan Taylor. And then, you have very productive receivers across the board with Michael Pittman Jr., Alec Pierce, Josh Downs. And then obviously this is something that Daniel wouldn't have known, but then in the draft, after he's already, joined the Indianapolis Colts and they're working through all of the OTA period, you add a weapon like Tyler Warren. And that is going to be something that Shane Steichen has not yet had, a target that is different from anything that he has had within his offense since he's been here. So I think that provides Daniel Jones with another very intriguing opportunity. And his entire operation, he really prides himself on, line of scrimmage and just being very communicative, and just how he sees things. And guys have responded incredibly well to the point that they named him a captain. A guy who is just came to Indianapolis in the spring. So he is one of those who is eager for this opportunity. And something that I talked with him about this week was Shane Steichen has preached creating an edge. That was one of the things that they harped on over the course of training camp in the preseason. And I kind of asked Daniel what that looks like. And he said, being productive, keeping this offense, keeping, timing on pace, making sure that this offense is being steady and productive, and he's using the weapons that are around him.
And one of the weapons that you all do have on offense, and you mentioned, was Jonathan Taylor, and he's coming off of another fantastic season. I mean, he rushed for over 1,400 yards in just 14 games. Are the Colts still a team that you believe will rely heavily on the run first and foremost to make life a little bit easier for Daniel Jones?
That is absolutely going to be a trademark of this offense, and it needs to be, right? With the production you have gotten from Jonathan Taylor, it is something that this group really prides themselves on, the ability to run the ball. You always want to have that weapon there and utilize him, because Jonathan has proven, although he's battled some injuries over the last handful of years, really has been one who has carried such a heavy workload for this group, and proven why he's certainly one of the best at his position. It's interesting that last year there was a drop off behind Jonathan Taylor when they switched it up from when Jonathan would get a break, or when play call would direct someone else, a different ball carrier onto the field. It was Trey Sermon and Tyler Goodson, and there was a pretty significant drop off in the production. I'm interested to see now this year, the Colts drafted DJ Giddens out of Kansas State, and he's going to be a really good change of pace back for them in complement to Jonathan Taylor. So certainly JT is going to be the bell cow guy. Certainly this is going to be a run heavy offense. But I'm really interested with the tandem, and not just a 1-2, a 1-2-3 that you can have from Jonathan Taylor to Tyler Goodson, and then DJ Giddens in there as well. Giddens is a very good pass catching back, so offers some other some versatility, and that's one of the things we've heard that I heard Daniel talk about, was just how multiple Shane likes to be, the variety that he brings to the offense, and how they'll use guys in a variety of different types of situations. But yeah, you expect that JT is going to have the ball in his hands a whole heck of a lot, because that's really what sets the tone for this team, and that's really what they feed off on, especially for this offensive line. Notably, you have two new starters on the offensive line as well, center Tanner Bordolini, and then you also have Matt Gonsalves with the departure of guys in free agency, the departures of Will Fries and Ryan Kelly. So those will be, interesting in terms of making sure that that offensive line, they've been great throughout the preseason. This is going to be a different test now. These guys have had tons of time going back to the spring to all get on the same page. But yeah, you want to start running it. You want to get that ball in Jonathan's hands and allow this offensive line to do what they do so well.
I'm very interested to see how this all pans out week one. I just couldn't be more excited for a game. So let's shift gears and talk about the defense a little bit. And it seems like we maybe, from my perspective, have a little bit of a similar issue with Indy and Miami, with a lot of question marks when it comes to the secondary. Are you nervous at all about the Colts cornerback and safeties heading into this season, or is it not as big of a deal for you all as we feel it is for us on our side of the ball?
That's a great question. As I mentioned, certainly there's been heavy investment in that group. It was unfortunate because injuries did really plague the secondary over the course of training camp and the preseason. Juju Brents is a guy who was with the Colts and now Miami has picked up. He's an incredible talent. He's just battled some injuries over the course of his career. So you had Jalen Jones, one of the cornerbacks. He is now back and healthy, but battled things over the course of the preseason, saw very limited time in training camp. And then Justin Wally, who was one of their draft picks that the Colts were very high on. He was actually starting, getting reps with the ones with Lou Anarumo's defense. He's done for the year with a knee injury. And then Hunter Wohler, who is kind of a surprise, late round draft pick by the Colts. He suffered an injury as well during the preseason. He is out. So this group, which had so much depth because of the heavy investment that they had that they brought in. And then also guys, a Pro Bowl player like Kenny Moore II, who has been a staple of this defense, Nick Cross at corner as well. So it is certainly going to be tested. And those injuries are why you saw some of the moves that the Colts did make to go and acquire Xavier Howard. They traded for Mekhi Blackman from Minnesota. It has been very interesting. And so cannot wait to see what that group looks like coming together. I will say I had a conversation with Cam Bynum, and he's very optimistic for what this defense can do. There is a ton in terms of the communication on the back end with Lou and the scheme that he likes to run. That's something that Cam prides himself on doing very, very well. And he feels like that they have built very strong chemistry within that group over the course of, these last few months since they've all come together, and I look at that group and it's so tough. I mean, week one, it's always tough to predict no matter what, right? Because just new additions, what are they doing? It's, you have very limited film to go off of. I mean, you're looking somewhat to last season, but everyone is evolving year to year. You've got new additions, and this is going to be an interesting test for Indianapolis because the last two times they played the Miami Dolphins, Miami has been without Tua due to concussion. So that is going to be a new test for this defense entirely because the last two times, I believe it was 21 or 22 and then 25 or 24, excuse me. So a handful of times over the last 3 or 4 years, this offense that the Colts have faced, this Miami offense, has not been the full strength Miami offense. So although they've seen, Waddle and Hill, it hasn't been in complement to having Tua under center. So this will match up. I expect to see a lot of changes over the course of the game. I think everyone is going to feel like it's going to be very much a chess match, right? We're going to see something in the first half and then a ton of defensive halftime adjustments to account for, what evolves over that first half. But yeah, this defense is really going to be tested. One thing I like about the additions that they made is not only are the guys like Mooney Ward and Cam Bynum premium players, they have incredible experience in terms of playoff experience, making deep playoff runs. When you talk about a guy like Mooney Ward, a guy like Bynum, who has been on teams that have, predominantly had very strong winning seasons. They've played in big games. So that type of experience, I think, is really going to benefit this Colts group because Colts have not shied away. They haven't won a season opener since 2013. And now you're going on 4 straight years of missing the playoffs.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that statistic about you all not being a home opener in a long time. And I think you're absolutely right. I mean, Tua, if you are trying to test out your secondary, I mean, what an opportunity for it to be with Tua, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. I mean, gives you a lot of information to take into your next game. So I have to touch on what we talked about, and that's Xavier Howard was such a key part of this defense for so many years with the Dolphins. When we heard that he was back, like possibly on the market, I mean, fans were like, please pick him up. It did not happen. How has he looked in practices since joining the team? I know it's been a very limited sample size, but what have you seen out of him?
Certainly you have seen these big jumps in terms of, week to week stacking days. Of course, we talked about it with him in that it's so different, rather going from, being physically in shape, training shape is so much different from game shape, right? But given the wealth of experience that he has, the years that he can call upon, you've seen him very quickly assimilate to this group and, getting right back in where you would expect him to be. I mean, there have been zero limitations that I have seen to this point. So it's mostly been, the system he knows, the scheme he knows, it's learning the guys, getting up to speed with those guys around him, working in complement to Kenny and Mooney and the safeties and everyone kind of within that rotation. But a guy who everyone has really rallied around, guys were excited to get him in the building. And he understood that people had questions about his availability given the injury and where he was. And yet he has zero concerns about, the foot and where he is from that standpoint, said that he was very intentional in how he treated last season. And it seems like he's going into this with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. Like he absolutely has something to prove that at this point in his career, he can still be as productive as he has been. Obviously, that's a very high bar, right? With being, all pro at his position. But he elevates this group. Just his presence out there on the field is something that you have to account for. I think he so far has had, zero, kind of limitations or anything, as I mentioned. I do think that you're probably going to see an even higher production from him as you get into like week 3 and week 4, as he just gets more comfortable and gets more of those game reps, given the fact that he had none of that over the course of preseason. I mean, he was coming in one of the latest additions to this group, looking ahead to the start of the season. So it has been a quick turnaround for him. But, given the level at which he's played and the years he has played, certainly there has been, no lag in his being able to assimilate with this group. So yeah, I think you're going to see him going after people week 1. Like this is not a matchup that he's going to shy away from or want to say, I need to ease my way in. That's certainly not any of the kind of tone we've gotten from him or the approach that he's had whatsoever.
Fair enough. Yes, I imagine the chip on his shoulder thing would definitely be the case. So we're very interested to see what that looks like on Sunday. So what do you think this game is going to come down to as far as between the two teams? And just beyond that, are you ready and able to make a prediction of what you think the score of this game might possibly be?
Okay, I'm going to say that, and this is not going out on a limb, you're going to say this probably about any matchup, but turnover battle, especially in this game, given the way that Miami is going to want to push the ball downfield, and the Colts have to take care of the football. So I think that's going to be a significant factor in this one. This defense has talked boldly about wanting to be a top 5 defense in the league. And a lot of that comes down to the ability to take the ball away. The Colts really need to get pressure up front. I think they're going to pride themselves on using the weapons they have on the edge. Second-year defensive end Laiatu Latu, he's going to have to start to disrupt up front. That will be a significant factor. So the takeaway battle, that's something that has from the Colts offense, they are going to have to, and you feel like that with Daniel Jones, he is going to do a good job of protecting the football, putting this offense in good positions. And then the Colts struggled in 2024 in the red zone. They had a lack of conversion in the red zone, had to settle in a lot of situations for kicks instead of touchdowns. So I certainly think that those will two for me, critical factors. Red zone conversion, red zone turnover, red zone touchdowns, I should say, and then the takeaway battle. And then I'm going to go 24-21 Colts.
Okay, I love it. Well, I love it. I love that you gave me a prediction. My prediction, of course, is different. Mine is 2017 Dolphins. But we
Okay,
shall
but we're
see.
like scoring
Yeah,
wise, like we're close.
we're very close. We're very close. We'll see how that pans out. One thing I will say is, I can be very critical of the team, of our team, even as a fan, maybe hypercritical at some points. But I will say that this Dolphins front seven, I think, is going to be very, very serious this year. And so I'm very interested to see for the first time what it looks like for us with a healthy Jalen Phillips, a healthy Bradley Chubb, Chop Robinson, all of that. So I think this is going to be one of those games where it's like all the puzzle pieces come together and you kind of get to see now how do they fit and what does it look like. And someone was asking me, like, what do you expect from your team in this game? I was like, I don't know. It's the first season. I'm just like, I need to see it all together,
Yeah.
So I'm very interested to see how that works out. Okay, so real quickly before we get you out of here, we do this. I'm doing this little round. It's called the Dolphins Talk Speed Round. If you have time, it's very quick. It's 5 questions with Larra Overton, and they're just lightning style. As whatever comes to your head, you answer if you want to play.
Great.
Okay. All right. So first question is, what is your favorite late night snack?
Favorite late night snack would either be pizza or cereal.
Cereal is there anything better than a big bowl of cereal?
No, like I've been on a kick with Life cereal lately.
Okay.
That's like it for me. Like, it's just like, I want a little something. I want a little sweet, but also something, that I feel like has a decent amount of substance to it. That's going to be my go-to for sure.
Love it. Rom-com or action movie? Which are you a fan of?
Ooh.
If you had to pick, or maybe there's a genre we didn't mention that year.
No, I'm a softie for a rom-com. I'm really going rom-com. Yes, especially by myself. If I'm watching my husband, he'll get me onto an action movie. But if it's left to my own devices, I'll grab a good rom-com.
Rom-com. All right. Question 3. What do you like most about living in Indianapolis?
Oh, the people. Hoosier hospitality is so real, and there is such a loyalty when you think about, and it's a huge sports centric town. When you think about the magnitude of sporting events, and like, they get behind their teams. You think about the Pacers just went on this incredible run to the NBA Finals this year. The Indiana Fever with Caitlin Clark, and you have seen that fan base just grow immensely. The Colts, it's such a feeling that you get around here. And then college sports too, right? We're kind of in this abundance of college basketball with IU and Purdue and Louisville not being far away. Butler is right here in Indianapolis. So the people are just the absolute best, and the feeling that you get when you have everyone, gathered together, the way they rally behind their teams, rally behind their communities, it's certainly something special.
That's wonderful. So question 4, which player is the most fun to interview who you believe will kind of always give you a good quote to use?
Oh, there are so many on this team. I would have to say Michael Pittman Jr. always keeps me on my toes, because he's always going to throw something unexpected out there. And quickly, just for an example, he was talking about the influence of Phillip Rivers, because Pitt's rookie year, he had Phillip as his quarterback, and he was drawing upon that experience. And I mentioned something. I said, okay, and this was right when Phillip had announced his official retirement. I said, all right, what was the biggest influence that Phil had on you? And Pitt's response was probably the number of kids. He's like, I want 8 kids, and my wife says we're stopping at 4, but I would like to have 8. And
they have like a school bus worth of children.
So I was just like, that's a perfect Pitt response. Like, he just kind of goes, so yeah, that's what it is. And I love it. And he's always very, very thoughtful. And he's very candid in how he responds. He's definitely one of those who is going to give you that soundbite, that quote, whatever you want to use, that additional nugget for sure.
There you go. And final question, do you play fantasy football? And if you do, what's your team name?
I took a couple of years off of fantasy football and just joined a team. Actually, we did our draft on Wednesday. Sorry, we did our draft on Wednesday with a couple other gals around the league. And my team name is Tyler Warren Peace.
Tyler Warren Peace. I love it.
So there you go. I'll also say, since you mentioned your defensive line, don't sleep on the ability of Daniel Jones to make plays with his legs. Jonathan Taylor let us in on the fact that Daniel Jones will routinely hit 21 miles per hour in practice.
Well, that's surprising.
Exactly. When he's running the ball, when he's scrambling, all of that. So it'll be interesting to see in those situations with the Dolphins defensive front, when they get a little bit of pressure, the escapability, the aptitude that DJ has to extend plays with his legs is, I think, something that a lot of people might be maybe overlooked at this point, maybe underestimating, I should say.
Yeah, it's not something I would have had on my bingo card if you had told me that was the case.
Right? Like there are certain quarterbacks you often associate that with. And yeah, so that is going to be one interesting element, how often he turns to that, or how often maybe, Shane is putting him in a position to showcase that.
Well, I cannot wait. I mean, I don't know how I'm going to sleep on Saturday. It's going to be like trying to go to bed on Christmas Eve. I mean, like, how do you do
Right?
that? But I cannot wait. And I so appreciate your time. I know you're so busy getting ready for this game on Sunday. But again, everyone, producer, host, and reporter for the Indianapolis Colts, Larra Overton. Larra, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time.
Marissa, so great talking with you. Good luck on Sunday.
Thank you. You as well. And for everybody out there in Dolphins Talk Nation, make sure you hit subscribe and like on our YouTube channel if you're following along there. If not, make sure you come back every Saturday. I'll be doing a Must Be Marissa mashup with another journalist, reporter, or national media member talking about the upcoming Dolphins game. I hope that you all have a great rest of your day, and fins up.